Welcome, everybody, to episode 56 of the Serial Chillers podcast. I'm your host, Jesse. Today, two returning guests here in the Super Network studio. I have with me Kyle and Carrie. Welcome back, dudes. You already know co-host Greg is across the internet in a bunker far away doing co-host Greg things in that bunker far away. Tonight, we talk about serial killer Robert Black. Piece of... We'll get into it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 56 of the Serial Chillers podcast. Welcome, everybody, to episode 56 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast. I am your host, Jesse. Joining us from the Super Network studio, I'm here with co-host Greg in his bunker far away across the internet. How goes it, co-host Greg?
I'm doing well, thank you.
It's good to have you, my friend.
Great to be here. Well, great to be here, not there.
Yeah, you're here, not there. Wait.
I'm there in spirit.
Oh.
Isn't here, just there, but without the T.
Whoa.
You know, if we both go outside, technically we're in the same room.
Whoa.
What the fuck is going on?
Sitting to my left, joining me for the second time. Welcome back, Kyle.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am very well.
Good. Very good to hear that. Sitting across from me, looking lovely as ever. Also joining us for the second time. He did it last time with Kyle. He didn't do it with Kyle. He was on the show with Kyle. Welcome back, Carrie.
What's going on, gentlemen? How are we?
I was thinking he did it on Kyle.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Mm-hmm. That also is applicable.
I mean, $20 is $20. So
you know what I mean?
Was that Caddyshack? Want to make $20 the hard way?
All right. You guys know how the show works. You've been here before. Greg does too. He's been here a lot.
56 times to be exact.
Yeah. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous serial killer. Throughout the show, you guys can chime in on my story, and if you have brought your own story that is true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious, please feel free to share it. Lastly, if you have questions about questions, make sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions?
I don't think so. Not yet.
Then welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Yeah. That's how I fucking do it, dude.
Shit just happened.
Today's serial killer is Robert Black.
Ooh.
A familiar name to either of you? Don't you go Googling.
Negative. Nope.
Okay. It always starts like this. I don't know if you guys remember, but I do. Question number 1. In what year was Robert Black born? 250 points to the closest, 1,000 points if you nail the answer. In what year was Robert Black born? Pretty timeless name. He could have been born in 2010 or 1814.
10.
Robert Black just fits.
You guys copying my paper?
No, what do you got over there? Carrie says
1965.
1965. 1956 says Kyle. Whoa. And today, Kyle will get 250 points to start it out.
Sweet.
Because Robert Black was born April 21st, a day late, 1947. Okay, so here's the thing. Let me just start with this. He's a pedophile fuckface. We're just gonna get it out there. If you're not into that, just turn it off. It's getting. I don't really have any details because that's.
I guess if you're not into that, good.
Yeah, you know what I mean though. Like if you don't want to
Congratulations.
hear about it, that's what this guy is. Now, I gotta say, I received a lot of negative feedback on the details that went into Wesley Allen Dodd, and I heard you. No more details about the child murders. I get it. I understand. I crossed a line.
Wait, people find that offensive?
Yeah, occasionally.
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, who would have thought?
That's true. It happens.
So, the child murders happen. Let's try not to do too much detail about them. Here's the other thing about Robert Black that's going to be very painful. He spends his entire life living throughout England and Scotland, so you guys get to hear me pronounce all of those city names.
This will be rad.
Yeah. So, born in Grangemouth, about 20 miles from Edinburgh, his parents would immediately give him up for adoption. So that's April 21st, 1947. October 1947, he's about 6 months old. He is in the care of the adoption service, and at 6 months, he is adopted really quickly. Back to you guys. Question number 2. His foster parents have the last name of a flower. What flower? 500 points if you could tell me what their last name was. The name of a flower. So many flowers, I know. So many flowers. You guys got flowers? What do we got? Kyle says rose. Carrie says daisy. Those are both good flowers, and maybe 2 flowers that I would have guessed. But those are not the answers.
Damn it. Titanic,
Because
you failed me.
in October of 1947, Robert Black would be fostered to Jack and Margaret Tulip in the Highlands.
Yeah.
The Tulip family.
Plant tulips right here.
Oh, interesting. So the Tulips live in Keenlochleven, near Glencoe in the West Highlands. Yes, this is going to be a giggly episode, apparently.
Should I get Google Translate on this?
Yeah, there's no need for translation. I speak English there. It's just
No, but they have the button that'll say it.
Keenlochleven. Yeah, I have no idea.
Sounded more like Klingon.
Yeah, maybe that's what I thought it was. So, no. Okay, so the Tulips live near Keenlochleven, near Glencoe in the West Highlands. Robert lived here for the next 11 years, and the majority. It doesn't help that you're just rolling right there. What am I supposed to do? I'm going to downsize you.
Sorry, I'm just thinking. I mean, it's a good thing we don't have anybody who listens to us in Scotland.
Oh, we do though.
This was the first episode.
And
that
I'm
someone
sure
was going
that-
to
I'm
listen
sure
to, and
that-
you guys just ruined all of Scotland.
Well, I'm sure those 6 people that listen to us in Scotland are going to be like, "Hey, fuck off."
So Robert is going to live in Keenlochleven until he's about 11 years old, the majority of which of these years he spends in the care solely of Margaret Tulip, because in 1952, when Robert Black is 5 years old, Jack Tulip dies. Robert Black claims to have no memory of him, even though he was 5 years old when he died. He claims to have no memories at all, in fact, before the age of 5. Although locals remember how Robert Black was frequently heavily bruised as a young boy. So he doesn't remember shit before he was 5, but people are like, we remember. He was fucking looked like he was a punching bag to his.
Someone shook the shit out of you.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know what the foster system was like in the early 50s, but I imagine these foster parents were receiving some type of stipend to take care of this kid, and I imagine that they weren't spending it on him, but beating him. Quite the opposite, in fact. Do not take the money and spend it on the child. You can take it and spend it on yourself, and while you're at it, kick his ass a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe they stuck it in socks and beat him with it.
Yeah, insult to injury right
They did
there.
have
That's
pound
salt in the
back
wound.
then.
Yeah.
The British pound.
Oh my God. So his foster father dies. He has no memory of him at all. No memories before the age of 5. He's a punching bag. That's how the families or the locals remember him. Black himself cannot recall how he got any of the injuries that the people talk about because he has no memories. He recalls no abusive behavior from Jack, though he does not remember anything. He does remember some memories of Margaret, who used to lock him in the house as a punishment for bad behavior. So apparently they would go out and do family things, and when he wasn't good, she'd fucking lock him in and essentially make him watch.
Nice.
Here's how we picnic, you little fuck. Like, this is how we're going to do it, and you don't get to do it. So he had front row seats to his family being a family, and he wasn't invited.
Nice.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a very good life he's led so far, right?
Life
Yeah.
lessons.
This is, unfortunately, right, this is how it goes in every episode. It's never like he lived a very normal
Yeah,
childhood.
no,
And then
it's
like,
there's pretty much a cookie cutter thing here. Like if anybody wants to just create a serial killer, It's just possible to do that.
I shouldn't say it doesn't happen because there are definitely some people that end up serial killing that show later the psychopathy but live pretty normal lives. But
Yeah.
there are definitely a lot more of these ones.
Yeah.
They're serial killers. So he also remembers that Margaret would spank him, but she wouldn't just spank him through his pants or pull it down his pants through his underwear. She would go full drawers to the ankles and spank him bare ass. So it was something that I think, he start to enjoy a little bit later on. So at night, he was very afraid of a monster under his bed. And look, we were all afraid of a monster under our bed, right? Like, that's not something.
Of course.
Who didn't have, or some other type of similar irrational fear as a child.
Yeah, totally vampires.
Yeah.
I could not sleep unless I had like the blankets all the way around my neck, like all the way to my chin, because I was convinced that I would not get bit if that was the situation.
It was just blankets.
Man,
That's all you needed.
it was-
Yeah, apparently vampires cannot pull a blanket down. So,
The
It used
logic
to be
is
under
there.
the blankets for me, but then I saw The Grudge.
He didn't want to hear.
Yeah. And for me, it's sleeping with my foot outside the blanket.
Yeah.
was
See,
freaks
everybody's
me
got a
out.
thing. See,
Myself,
I can
it sounds
see that.
like Greg still got a thing like today.
You know, for myself, it was always swimming in a fucking pool and imagining there's this giant great white. I know it's like completely not plausible, you know, a 20-foot fucking fish in a 13-foot pool. You're like, oh, there it is. Found you.
But hey, man, we were all kids,
40-foot shark in a 20-foot pool.
we had
Hey.
we had some weird things going on, you know. So the monster under the bed, we've all had it, but
Yeah.
his was insanely like high anxiety. Like it was very, it wasn't dramatic kid. It was like anxiety, legitimate anxiety attacks,
Panic
and-
attacks.
Yeah, he was very, very convinced that there was a monster down there. So as we go on, he starts to have these recurring nightmares where he is in a cellar with a big hairy monster, and the cellar is full of water. So when I hear that he's got these like recurring nightmares, and he can't really remember before the age of 5, and everybody who remembers him said, yeah, he like got the shit kicked out of him, and that like he's convinced there's a monster under his bed. It sounds to me like he's got these repressed memories of his dad just being some sick fuck and like scaring his young child.
big,
And
hairy
like
Yeah, like you
monster
almost
with you in
feel
the
bad for
basement.
these guys.
a lot of times,
You know what I
do,
mean? You're like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ. And then you start ticking off the stuff they've done. And you're like, all right, never mind.
And you're like, oh, you slit the throat of 9 sex workers.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Okay.
very good,
Yeah.
very good. Unacceptable.
So at 7 years old, you used to bring home backpacks full of dead animals.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's to me, like I hear the high anxiety thing and I get it. Like I know that some kids are prone to that. And I hear like these recurring nightmares of the big hairy monster in a cellar full of water. And I don't know. It just seems like it. And nobody, this isn't like a theory. I just read these things. And to me, it seems like some kind of not remembering before. I feel like there's things that I was like 1 or 2 and I can like, vaguely conjure up some type of like, not
Thought
detail,
memory.
but like, they're very young memories. And for sure, like pretty solid at like 4 and 5. And he literally has no memory, but these recurring nightmares of this big scary monster under his bed that took him into a cellar full of water. I don't know. It seemed like a very weird thing to not remember a dad that died, but just have all these weird kind of creepy things going on.
Big,
I
hairy,
don't know.
scary monsters.
Yeah. So
Nightmare fuel.
yes, and let's top it all off that most of the time when he awoke from sleep, scared of the monster, he found that he would have wet the bed, which invariably provoked a beating from his mother. And we can't not mention it. Completes 1/3 of the McDonald triad. So you guys, McDonald triad?
Nope.
It's like it's kind of not the number one thing anymore, but it's something that was used for a long time. It's kind of like the standard for something that you would find in a serial killer. And it's a head injury. God damn it. There's fucking 3 and I always fuck it up every time. Greg will look it up. It's for sure. It's bedwetting,
I
head
always
injury, and
fuck it up
arson.
too.
I think it's those 3. Bedwetting, head injury, arson.
Really?
Yeah.
Wasn't like mutilation of small animals maybe?
That is definitely one of them, but not like an exclusive. Like
Okay.
these 3 things, I believe. Greg, can
Okay.
you just confirm with me? Because I could definitely see animal mutilation on there.
I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I remember when I was a kid, I got hit in
We've
the head really
had this
hard.
discussion. Like,
Like
we've done
burning
56
shit, but I'm
episodes.
not pissed the bed, so I'm good.
If we did 56 episodes,
Arson, cruelty to animals, and neurosis.
Now, like bedwetting, up until like the age of 2, 3.
No, like into the teens. Like,
Like it all,
okay.
dude. If your infant is wetting the bed, it's gonna be a serial killer.
Just throw it off the cliff.
that's
like
just the
300.
way it is. Yeah.
I mean, this was Scotland. What did they even had beds back then in Scotland?
In the 50s?
Just it was hay on the floor.
Yeah, just change the hay.
Do we have
Don't worry.
beds in
it's it.
Scotland now?
Oh my god! Those 6 listeners you mentioned are just—they're not even saying "fuck off" anymore. They're on their way over here to find the.
No,
bunker.
they're sitting there going, "Aye."
It was a rough time.
So, anyways, the repressed memories thing is just something I thought of, and the McDonald triad thing is another thing that we always think of, and I always get wrong.
I'll be getting one of those on the way home.
A McDonald triad.
Yeah.
And there's one right here on the corner. So his classmates in primary school had 2 very prevalent nicknames for him. Question number 3. I'm going to give you 5. Pick 2 of these nicknames that they called him. 2 of them are the correct answer. This is for 250 points per correct answer. Of these 5, was he Smelly Bob, Stinky Rob, Rob the Smelly Boy, Smelly Robbie Tulip, or Rob the Stink Train?
Scotland doesn't have trains.
Smelly Bob, Stinky Rob, Rob the Smelly Boy, Smelly Robbie Tulip, or Rob the Stink Train?
I really want to go with the stink train just because that's fucking hilarious.
Right.
Either he had an awesome nickname or I'm good at making up fake answers.
Right.
One or the other.
Or you're kind of a bully and making fun of people,
Right.
And so you're just like, this guy's gonna be easy.
It would be hilarious if the only person in Scotland listening was named Rob right now.
All right, what do we got, boys?
I got Stink Train and Smelly Tulip.
Smelly Robbie Tulip and Stink Train, Kyle
I went
said.
with Smelly Rob and Smelly Rob Tulip.
And Smelly Rob Tulip. Both of you guys get Smelly Robbie Tulip. That was 250 points. But both of you missed Smelly Bob.
Smelly Bob.
Yes, so 250 points for each of you. Kyle with 500, Carrie with 250.
You know, we're getting there.
Smelly Bob. Smelly Robbie Tulip, Smelly Bob. He is known as one or the other. He's
I
remembered for
can't not hear Smelly Bob in the melody of Smelly Cat.
Smelly Bob, Smelly Bob. What are they feeding you? It's not your fault, Smelly Bob. So, yes, he was aggressive and separated. Those are the 2 words that like educators, his teachers, and his students like. These are like 2 words that like stood out. Were aggressive and separated. He's just like alienated from everybody. But if someone tried to approach him, he was very just like.
Standoffish.
Yeah, like he didn't want any new friends,
He's all, no.
which I also understand, you know. So it's but he's at an age where he should probably be making
Should be some
new
social
friends.
interaction
Yeah,
there.
exactly. He never really got into any serious trouble. He had some like small tiffs. He played. He's a little dramatic, they said, for some of the fights he got into. He was also said to have bullied the younger children, yet he seemed to avoid anything more serious than rebuke from Williams for swearing in front of ladies. That was his teacher that described him as aggressive and separated. Mm-hmm. So his first sexual experience, which was one of his first memories, he says, was when he was only 5. So he's close to his 6th birthday here. Robert Black vividly recalls himself and a little girl undressing and looking at each other's sexual parts. Yes. So he has a very early obsession with female genitalia and the anus. He's very
Is that an Egyptian god?
yeah, he's very curious, let's say, as a 5 and 6-year-old.
Anus brings the brown rain.
Yeah, so in 1954, he's 7 years old. He is placed in Highland dance classes. He remembers being far more interested in lying on the floor and looking up the girls' skirts than dancing. Highland dancing, like if I Googled it and showed you guys, because I looked it up, I wanted to make sure I I had a
It's
vague
almost like a
idea.
river dance.
It's almost like a river dance with less tapping.
Oh, gotcha.
It's like a quiet river dance. That's how I would describe it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So he was interested more in laying on his back and looking up the skirts of the other 7-year-olds in his class. I mean, in 1954, they were probably like, "How cute is this kid?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was
Nowadays, you'd be looking up a
it's
skirt
a little
and
bit of
see
a
a
different
dick.
story. In 1955, he's now 8 years old. Moving on. While looking after a neighbor's baby, he took off her diaper to look at her vagina. Like we said, both vaginas and anuses fascinated him. He was obsessed with discovering, quote, how big they were, and, quote, how much they could hold.
Oh,
Yeah, he's fucking 8. Skip a few years forward, 1958, he's now 11 years old. His foster mother, Margaret Tulip, dies. Once again, he's deprived of a mother. Although a local couple offered to take him in. So fuck, like, I got someone's going to take me in. How fucking sweet is that?
No way these two could be abusive too.
Question number 4. Did he get to stay with the new family? Just yes or no. 250 points on a 50-50 stab.
I'm going with no. Not even gonna write it down. I'm just
Carrie, you
gonna
can
say
just...
I'm just gonna say yeah.
All right. Carrie says yes. Kyle says nah. And Kyle's going to get the points. Because it was decided that Robert Black would go into the Reading Children's Home near Falkirk. Falkirk.
I think you nailed that one.
Thank you. It was close to the place of his birth in, what was it called? Keenlacleven.
Oh.
Keenlacleven. I think that's what it was.
Near Grangemouth.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess for me, I don't understand why they wouldn't put him in the care of another couple. But I guess.
Maybe they thought once before this one too.
But I think the problem is that they're not aware of the abuse. The system isn't aware of the abuse.
Correct, but they're probably aware of when they had that.
Nope. Look. Yep.
When they had that, that interview that they always have with the kid, where they like sit around, they
the
bring a
exit
teddy bear
interview,
and stuff, whatever.
Where did they touch you?
And he just immediately just got on the ground and looked up her skirt, kind of thing.
And
So
they were like,
"All right,
to
the home with you."
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that just piqued my interest. The fact that a couple was like, yeah, we don't want him to go back into the system. Like, let us be his parents. And they're like,
Try him out for a day.
yeah, take this one on a test drive and let us know.
Take this one for a spin. So yeah, he's
Interesting in third gear.
oh my God. He's going back into the system. The new parents were not allowed to keep him. It was decided that Robert Black would go into the Reading Children's Home near Falkirk. The damage was done anyway, I think. Regardless of where he went. This is just going to help,
Secure that. Cement that in there.
Yeah, just wait. It seems like by now the damage is done. Not sure if this would have changed the outcome at all. 1959, Robert Black made his first attempt at rape. He's 12 years old. He told Ray Wire, an author and pioneer for the treatments of sexual predators, quote, me and 2 other boys went into a field with a girl the same age. We took her knickers off, lifted her skirt, and all tried to put our penises in, end quote. Finding that they couldn't complete the act of penetration, the boys countered themselves instead with touching the girl's vagina. When asked if she was consenting to this, Blake told Wire, quote, I was forcing her, end quote. The incident was exposed, and the authorities decided that Black would be better suited to a home with stricter discipline, not to mention an all-male environment. So he's kind of got busted at the school they decided to put him in because he wouldn't be good with the family. And they're like, all right, well, we'll put him in a little more stringent home. That's what he needs, is a little more structure. So from 1959 to 1962, he lands in the Red House of Musselburgh for at least a year or possibly 2. Out of the 3 that Black was in the Red House, a male member of the staff who is now dead regularly sexually abused Robert Black.
There it is.
So during this time, Robert had obtained a place at Musselburgh Grammar School. He did slightly above average academically, but it was sports that he was really interested in, especially football or soccer to us shithead Americans. And question number 5, what other sport? Was it A, tennis, B, cross country, C, lacrosse, or D, swimming? soccer and tennis, cross country, lacrosse, or swimming? 250 to the correct answer. What do you got?
Swimming.
Kyle says swimming.
Lacrosse.
Lacrosse for Carrie. Kyle's going to score another one, man. Score another one, man. Congratulations, Kyle. I
Thank
believe you are at 1,000 points now.
I'm starting to feel like this isn't a game you want to win. Like you're just really good at dissecting what a serial killer would be doing.
Yeah, I try to go with the more innocent questions, but sometimes...
I mean, I just figured swimming, you know, there's like, you've been to wild waters and stuff. There's a lot of perverts.
Yeah.
A ton of them.
Speak of that. Summer 1962, his time at the Red House is up, and with help from authorities, Black got a job as a delivery boy and found a room for rent in a boys' home in Greenlock outside of Glasgow. Later admitted that while he was doing his delivery rounds, he molested girls.
Jesus Christ.
Question number 6. In his estimation, how many little girls did he molest? So this is one of those things, really quickly before we answer this, is I feel like he was a little serial confessor when they kind of got him. And, you know, they're like, what was it? And he's like, I did it all. Everything, you know.
Everything you think and then more.
Yeah. So what was that number? That's really all. Closest to that answer gets 250.
What was the time range here?
We are giving him a, what we got here, a 3-year time range. Doing his delivery rounds.
And how old was he?
I'm sorry. This is a 1-year time range. At 15 years old, doing deliveries.
What was he delivering?
Delivery pizza. I think he was delivering like supplies to construction. If I am not,
That's a weird kind of rape.
Well, I think he was doing
These
his rape
2x4s.
All right, how many in his estimation?
I'm going to say about 144.
144 says Carrie, and I hope not. Kyle says
25.
25. Kyle's going to get 250 more points
Jeez.
because, in his estimation, 35 was the answer.
Oh, shit.
He wouldn't give any information about it either, which I don't know.
Which I'm really happy about.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying is that like it's like notoriety to them. It's like and while I was out there, I molested 35 girls. Like,
All nonchalant.
yeah, you know, and they're like, oh, which ones? You'll never know.
It's crazy too. Like off topic. I don't know if you've done an episode on BTK.
Yes.
Okay, so I watched like one of his confession tape in court, and like the detail that these guys go into, and they're explaining everything. Like they're literally explaining, you know, like the expressions on people's faces, how their breathing pattern was. It's insane.
And a lot of them were very meticulous note takers. Like a lot of serial killers, they find like I don't think BTK was one of them, but yes. It's not cool, man. It's not really cool. So, 35. It was a bad question. 1963, at 16 years old, he gets his first conviction. It comes shortly after his 35 molestations that he claims to have done. This charge was for lewd and libidinous behavior with a young girl. Libido. Yes.
Okay.
He approached a 7-year-old girl in the park, asking her if she would like to go with him to see some kittens. The 7-year-old girl trustingly followed him as he led her to a deserted building. He choked her until she was unconscious and raped her. He left her when he was done. She was found later wandering the streets, bleeding, crying, and confused. The case was brought to court, and astoundingly, Black was initially given an admonishment, a verdict particular to Scottish law, which is effectively no more than a warning to be on good behavior in the future. Essentially,
Holy shit.
this, the public
Are you fucking serious?
By this, the public has the exact same reaction. They're outraged by what they've heard, and they go after an attempted murder charge. So, essentially, a petition is put forth. They go and say, "This is bullshit. Like, it has to be attempted murder." So a lot of people get behind it. And question number 7: were they successful in getting him an attempted murder case? Were they successful in getting the attempted murder brought to court? Carrie says no. Kyle also says no. And they're both going to get 250. Yeah, they weren't. There was a lot of outrage around it. People like seriously could not fucking believe it. It's just like what you guys did.
Yeah,
I said he gets let off with essentially a warning, and Kyle's face went.
I mean, I can understand if you got caught. Look at like if you're you're looking up a chick's skirt like you used to do.
Right.
All right. That's like, hey, you're weird. Let's keep our eyes on this kid. And
Yeah, you're in the system now,
yeah,
buddy.
for sure.
Don't fucking.
We got our radars up.
Don't come back.
Yeah, but not choking somebody unconscious and raping him. That's
Yep. So he gets a warning. So he would lose his job over it. And where does he move after he loses his job? But Keenla Clevin, yes.
Bringing it back home.
Yep, bringing it back
Playing
home
for the
full
home team
circle
again.
where he was raised by the Tulips. In March of 1967, he's now 20 years old. He's found guilty on 3 counts of indecent assault and sentenced to a year of Borstal training to be served at Polmont near Grangemouth.
That's so just European.
Yeah, so
None of that.
he's 20 years old, and apparently Borstal training, I looked this up as well, it's like juvenile detention center, but with it was about converting, like it was about turning them into successful members of society. Like
Yeah.
the rehabilitation process was
Like Pray the
huge.
Gay Away.
No, like more like a government facility that they put young men who weren't, he's 20 at this point, so they put him in here, and it's
So the
prison.
military.
Yeah, it's very militaristic. They go there and it's like boot camp. Fucking whip them into shape. They're up at 4 a.m. making their beds. And I could be incorrect. I very quickly kind of checked out what it was, but it is for, I want to say it was like 16 to 22-year-olds. Like they're fucking up bad.
Yeah. So for him, it's just going to be more inhumane treatment that he's going to see it as, which is what he's had all his life.
That's a very good point. So, yeah. So he gets through the 1 year of Borstal training, and in the early 70s, he's now in his early 20s. He moves to London. He's been playing football through this entire thing, but by now he's in his 20s, and his poor eyesight puts his career in professional football beyond his reach. So he's now like, fuck, it's not going to happen.
That ain't shit.
Working at the docks.
Yeah. So his at this point in his life, his obsession with young girls was growing, fueled by his discovery of child pornography. He discovered that magazines such as Teenage Sex and Lollytots were clandestinely available. So, you can't go to the liquor store and get them, but like you can find them. And he found a way to find them. And I don't know if this is something that actually happened, but the BBC did a documentary on him. And that's, I think, the only one that exists on this particular guy. But
Good.
In the reenactment, it showed him like going to clotheslines and stealing kids' clothes off it, and then like he would be in his bathroom and would just like taking the clothes out and like rubbing them on himself and smelling them and putting them around his neck and just like. And again, it never anywhere really mentions him doing that, but his obsessions were very, very strong. It's only going to get worse. So his favorite job was that of a swimming pool attendant. Kyle nailed it. He was able to sometimes go underneath the pool and remove the lights. It was like he'd go under with a tank and like work on the lights down there, but really he'd just be under there like
Looking at everything.
yeah, from the and you can't you're looking at a dude underwater. Like, is he looking at me? Like
Yeah.
you're not even thinking about that guy working
No.
on the light or whatever. Yeah. So it was like his very favorite job. He said because he just got to look at the bottom halves of all the little kids.
Well, I
all
mean,
day.
he's got a job to do, so they just assume that he's not a terrible person.
Yeah.
Versus like if an adult, is just swimming around and throws goggles
That-
on randomly.
That is not an assumption you need to make.
Yeah.
Assume everybody is staring at your kid's lower
Yeah.
half. Keep a fucking eye on them. I don't know. That's just me. So Robert Black became the subject of a complaint from a girl who claimed that he had touched her inappropriately. The police were called, but as always, luck would have it for Black. As always, luck was on Black's side. And despite his record, he was not charged with any criminal offense, although he did lose his job over this one. So it's the second time that he's kind of got off with pretty much nothing, but his job's been like,
Just
Just in case.
Nah.
Yeah.
Like, he's nah. No, this is Scotland. We can do that. So, obviously, he's. It's not looking good for him. He's in a spiral now, where it's like,
It's getting worse.
yeah, and but it's getting worse. But also, he probably feels fucking invincible. How many run-ins has he had with the law where they were just like, "Oh, you're good, man. Like, I vouch for you. This guy's good. You guys, everybody cool with that? We're just gonna let this guy go." Like,
slap him
cool.
in
All
the
right.
Well, I also imagine too, it was hard. It's this is what, like, if the times right, it's in his 20s, so 1970, like late 70s, early 80s. So I'm assuming that the records that people have aren't as readily available.
That's very true
You know
as
what I
well,
mean?
especially like cross jurisdictional.
Yeah, they're gonna
he's
have
in
to.
London now, and he's
Exactly.
from Keenlecleven.
So you're gonna have to
Scotland.
call down there and be like, "Hey, I'll call the operator," and then have well, that's the 80s. Now they can just call him.
Yeah, and this is only 72 at this point.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
yeah, he's 25 years old, and he meets Eddie and Kathy Rayson in a pub in Stamford Hill. The Raysons agree to let Robert Black live in their attic. What a trusting bunch, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
hey, this guy he's how charming of a motherfucker must this guy have been, right? And if when it's over, we'll Google it, and or we're getting close to the end, I'll show you a picture. He does not look like a charming guy.
No.
I don't know if you've Googled his face yet, Greg. It's not a good look.
He hasn't got much going for him. So
Who?
other than his charm,
He's a scary looking guy. He must have been quite a talker. How did Kathy describe Robert after his conviction? So she got to know him. She lived with him.
Mm-hmm.
So after he's convicted, is she going to say that he is an awful man, a big softy, an awful kisser, or forgetful at best?
Big softy.
I'm gonna go with the same big softy.
Double big softies. For double points, Kathy would say that Robert Black was a big softy. That question brought to you by Hella Greg.
Nice. Thank you, Hilla Greg.
Points on the boards puts asses in the seats.
Exactly.
Chicks dig the long ball, huh?
That's right. Well, not so much with a couple of big softies.
So Kathy said that Robert Black seemed like a big softy, and after his conviction in 1994, Eddie Rayson remembered Black as a perfect tenant. He always paid the rent on time and never caused any problems. Hey,
It's just like that. It's like that Tosh joke, the one where he was talking about how anytime somebody goes and blows up a school or kills somebody, and he's like,
yeah.
"Don't be that person." It's like, I never would have saw it coming.
Yeah, exactly that. It's
That's
exactly
what
that.
everybody always says.
Well, yeah, this guy's doing a bunch of highly illegal shit. It's probably a good idea to just keep your damn mouth shut and keep your head down.
Yeah, there's an entire town in Scotland would have been like, "We fucking told you. We tried to tell you. You didn't listen."
Right.
We're Keenlecleven. You got to start listening to us. I know we're hard to say, but come on, take us
Lads.
seriously.
Can't. Nobody can understand him. Even other Scottish
Are they
people
drunk?
can't understand him.
Yes, Kyle.
Accent's too thick.
So in 1976, he's 29 years old, and he begins to work for a firm called Poster Dispatch and Storage, or PDS, as a driver. His job was to deliver posters to various depots around England and Scotland. Now, he worked for PDS for the next 10 years until his employers were forced to dismiss him, as he was constantly getting involved in minor car accidents and costing the company a fortune in insurance payments. So, I don't know if he was just a bad driver, if he was like peeping 7-year-olds on the sidewalk or what.
It's hard to drive with one hand.
Yeah. So he seems, like we said, he's fucking up pretty much in all facets. Luckily for Black, shortly after he is dismissed, 2 employees are able to buy out PDS, and they liked him so much they gave him his job back.
Jesus.
Yeah. This guy fucking all he does is win.
Right?
He frequently did the London to Scotland run with his job, often stopping in the Midlands on his way to see the Rayson's son, John, and his new family. In July of 1982, he's now 35 years old, and he approaches 11-year-old Susan Maxwell, and she is abducted. She lived in a farmhouse outside Cornhill on Tweed, a small village on the English side of the English-Scottish border. It was broad daylight, and she was playing nearby her home. Her parents, the entire time, were very hopeful that they would find her alive, and they were in the midst of a press conference aimed at reaching the public and giving them information on the case and pleading to the kidnappers. Right after they stepped down from the press conference, an officer pulled them aside and told them that they believed they found the body of their daughter, and the parents kept saying, like, they wouldn't say she was dead. They just kept saying she's not alive. So, I don't know. It seems gnarly to be up there, like, we know you're out there, like, please, give our daughter back. We'll do anything, like, whatever you need us to pay, whatever it is, like, we'll make it happen. And they step down and they're like,
she's not alive.
We found her. Like, yeah. Pretty gnarly. So first known murder for Robert Black. Her body was found in a ditch next to a canal on the A518 road at Loxley, just outside the the Utoxeter. Utoxeter. I'm gonna go Utoxeter. Fuck. Just outside of Toxeter in the Midlands.
Maybe Scottish people could let us know if the proper enunciation of that word.
Anything
Please.
close.
In the Midlands, 250 miles away from where Susan had been abducted 2 weeks earlier. So she was found 250. She was found 4 hours away. July 8th, 1983. He is now 36. In the evening of July 8th, just said that, 5-year-old Caroline Hogg from Portobello in the outskirts of Edinburgh went out to play near her home for a few minutes and never returned. Fucking 5 years old. Many witnesses reported seeing a scruffy-looking man watching a young girl believed to be Caroline in the playground near her home, then holding hands with her at a nearby amusement arcade. The man identified as Robert Black. Caroline's body was found 10 days later in a ditch in Leicestershire, around 300 miles from her home.
Like the sauce?
Yeah, similar. Very similar to that, yeah. Leicestershire. Leicestershire.
Licked it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck it.
Keenlecleven. The cause of death could not be determined due to advanced decomposition, as had been the case with Susan Maxwell prior to this. But the absence of clothes suggested a sexual motive. On March 26, 1986, 3 years later, 10-year-old Sarah Harper went missing from Morley in Leeds after leaving her home to go to the corner shop and buy a loaf of bread. The shopkeeper remembered Sarah coming into the shop, but she never returned home. The last sighting of Sarah was of her walking towards the snicket. I left that word in there. It's an alley. I was like, what the fuck is a snicket? So she's walking towards the snicket that she used as a shortcut. Robert Black kidnapped, raped, and murdered her. Her body was found dumped in the River Trent near Nottingham a month later. Nottingham. All of the victims were young girls who had been skillfully abducted from public places for sexual purposes, mostly in like broad daylight or the very early evening. They were all driven south and murdered, their bodies dumped in the Midlands within 26 miles of each other. So they were all driven fucking 4 hours away, but they were all located within 30 miles of each other.
Damn.
So he's got his spot ish.
Yeah.
In Liechtenstein.
On July 14th, 1990, a now 43-year-old Robert Black sees a 6-year-old Mandy Wilson. He rolls up next to her with his van. He kind of pulls up like this, and this guy is over like kind of like doing some yard work, and he sees the little girl go behind the van, and he never sees her pop out the other side, and he sees the van fucking take off. So this guy's like, better get that license plate number. So this guy, what's his name? I wrote it down here. I think it's David Herkes. Where'd he go? Hercules. There we go. David Herks or David Herkes watched her approach the van with its passenger door open. He lived nearby and was doing some yard work. He got the registration number. Robert Black was speeding out of town at a high rate of speed, but realized that he was going the wrong way. So just a few minutes later, after doing a little bit of work in the van, he turned around and headed back the same way, hoping that no one noticed what he had just done in town. That was like the only road back south where he took all of his victims. They had. Yeah. David Herkes was there. He had already contacted the police. When he was passing back through, the police pull him over, and he just pulled over. Like there was no chase to be given. I'm guessing he just knew that it was over at this point, and there was no point in going any further, because he's pulled over, and clearly there's still a little girl in the car. One of the police officers who responded was actually the father of the little girl who had been abducted. He is the one who discovered the sleeping bag in the back of the van. Inside, he found tied up, gagged, and stuffed into it was his own daughter. Apart from suffering from shock, the girl was uninjured. The search of Robert Black's home would reveal a large collection of child pornography. The three bodies again. They're found.
How did that cop not just kill that guy right then?
Like straight like Brad Pitt at the end of
exactly,
of Seven.
Dude.
Yeah.
Parent to parent. I couldn't. I couldn't do it.
That's a man who believes in his country's justice system, but also a man who has no fucking idea what this guy has already gotten away with and gotten like. Here's a warning for you. Like.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. It's been very good for Robert Black so far.
Rad to be there. Stop. Liechtenstein Police Department.
Stop. You're under arrest for the murder of Mo Sislak and Apu Nahasa Pasa. Nah, just Mo. So the dad finds his daughter. She's fairly uninjured. There are different reports that say he did sexually assault her as he put her into the sleeping bag. But there are also reports that say like he got to the end of the street, put her in the sleeping bag, was like, "Fuck, I went the wrong way," and just smashed ass back. And he didn't do anything. I went with what I thought was the better story, and that he wasn't able to complete anything in the time that he was pulled over, other than putting her in the sleeping bag.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I like to think bright sometimes, you know.
Find the silver lining.
Right. So
in every sleeping bag.
So detectives for the investigation, they noticed that obviously the three bodies within the 26 miles, they already believed that the murders were linked, and also thought that because the three victims had been left long distances from where they had been taken, and that the killer traveled as part of his occupation. So they're putting together a profile of the guy way before they even found Robert Black. And what does he do? He's a fucking truck driver that crosses the the England-Scotland border daily as his job. The detectives also thought that because the three victims, they thought possibly a lorry driver that was there, and they were exactly right. The police faced great pressure to solve the crimes. Some newspapers compared them to the Moors murder. So the Moors murders, no time, very famous case. At some point, maybe it's not exactly a serial killing, but Google it. You'll enjoy that if you enjoy these types of things. It was one of the first inquiries to widely use the Holmes computer system following recommendations in the aftermath of the Yorkshire Ripper investigation. So it was like an algorithm. They plugged in a bunch of shit and it like said, this guy. Like, yeah.
He's a killer.
It probably was exactly like, remember in Willy Wonka when they're like, and this will tell us where the gold ticket is. It's like a fucking computer to the side and it just goes beep, boop, boop, beep, beep, boop, beep, 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 beep. It says like, wouldn't you like to know or whatever. Anyway, April 1992, he's now 45 years old. He's going to get hit with some summonses. How many? Essentially, these are what, like, summonses are the, how many things are we charging you with? We're bringing you in. Okay. These are the things. How many they going to be? It's also the last question, and Carrie, it's not possible for you to win.
I know.
Just to clear things up before we head into this. Hope nobody has.
The last one's worth 1,000. Oh yeah, it still doesn't matter.
Yeah, it wouldn't. No. Wait, would it?
No.
If it was worth 1,000 and Kyle missed it and you got it, it would be a tie. But it's not. It's not worth 1,000. Okay. Yeah. So.
In this hypothetical.
Yeah. So how many summonses? What do you got, Kyle? Where's
45.
45 summonses.
Fuck. I chose 40.
Fire T.
Fire T.
Carrie, you're going to get some points.
Oh,
all right.
Shit, 32.
Yeah.
It could have been a tie.
Posterity. All right, Carrie, you ended up with 1,000 points. You broke the 4-digit. You got a comma in your score. Kyle, you're going to win it 1,750 to 1,000. Kyle,
I'm not happy about it.
I know you said you weren't going to be happy. I would just like you to look at your scoreboard here. Let me just put your 0 here. Of the 9 questions, you only missed 2.
Hey.
Yeah.
Maybe I should be a serial killer profiler.
Maybe.
Or something.
Maybe. That is like a C+, though.
Or a serial killer.
Oh.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have the stomach for it.
I don't know, man. I think when I was a kid, I skipped that whole like
it'd be
torture
fun-
animals phase.
It'd be fun to do an episode and be like, yeah, we used to hang out with this guy.
Well, he's been on the show twice.
I never could have seen it coming.
Normal. He was a big softie.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, Greg. So on April 13th, 1994, the opening arguments start. May 17th, the jury begins deliberations. May 19th, the jury agreed upon a verdict. Robert Black was found guilty on all counts and sentenced him to life for each of the charges, eligible for parole in 2029 when he's 82 years old. He's still fucking eligible for goddamn... And listen,
I honestly, okay, I was if that would have been another question, was he found guilty? I literally would have picked no.
Yeah.
Just because there's
there's
no way I
fucking
would have
rap
believed
sheet.
it.
I should say that most criminal justice systems around the world focus on rehabilitation, and most of them don't try to put away people for the rest
He's
of
a
their
real
lives.
fixer
Like that's
upper.
not a big,
Yes, yeah.
that's not a very popular opinion around.
No.
Like we're one of the only countries that's like, you're fucking in here. One of the only first world countries that's like, you're fucking in here, and this is just where you are the rest of your life.
Yeah,
and
tough
make
shit.
license plates. Fuck you for 13 cents a day.
Exactly.
So that's not the case. He's going to be eligible for parole in 2029 when he's 82. July of 94, a meeting was held in Newcastle to consider the possibility of Robert Black's involvement in similar murders, as well as possible murders in France, Amsterdam, Ireland, and Germany. There were up to 10 unsolved abductions and murders in England, which bore Black's MO. So, right. Yeah. Let's see. Some of the possible cases that could have been involved were April Fabb, who was abducted in Norfolk in 1969. 9-year-old Christine Markham was abducted in Scunthorpe in 1973. 13-year-old Jeanette Tate was abducted in Devon in 1978. 14-year-old Suzanne Lawrence was found dead in Essex in 1979. And 16-year-old Colette Aram was found strangled and sexually assaulted in a field in Nottingham. In 1983, 14-year-old Patsy Morris was found dead near Heathrow in 1990, and Marion Crofts and Lisa Hessian were also found the same year. April 20th, 2005, he is arrested on suspicion of the murder of a 13-year-old schoolgirl who has been missing for 27 years. So,
I mean, he's already...
yeah, but this case is back.
Step out of your cell. Put your hands behind your back. Go back in your cell.
Police in Devon and Cornwall confirmed that Black was being interrogated for Jeanette Tate, who was vanished near her home in 1978. So, I mean, that's really it. He's going to be 82 when he has the opportunity, and hopefully fucking dead. He is still alive today.
Yeah.
He was a horrible pedophile monster piece of shit.
He's gonna live till he's like 177 years old.
You're probably right. I hate that you're probably
fucking,
right.
He just has luck.
I don't... Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And
So,
I have none.
well, don't go do any of these things to try to test
You're
your
also
luck.
not in prison until
Yeah,
you're
like-
82, so there is
like
that.
buy a lottery ticket or something.
Right.
You take his luck,
Could you
but have to
imagine
sit
if I
in
won
prison.
tonight? That'd be awesome.
So that's the story. Congratulations, Kyle, on
Thank
your
you.
victory.
I think that makes it 1-for-1 with me and Gary.
And there you
Or
go. So
Carrie
that
and
means
I, if we're being proper.
There's for sure going to be a tiebreaker in season 3.
Hey, hey.
You guys will be back to settle the score, as it were. Yeah, man. Is there anything you want to add to the story, Greg? Anything you want to close up with here? I don't really tighten it up tight because I fucking hate him so much, dude.
Yeah, that guy's a sick fuck. And, you know, when you get the opportunity to be like him in life, fucking don't.
Please.
Pro tip: don't
Yeah,
be that guy.
Please.
Yeah,
please don't.
leave kids alone.
Just like always, you know, unless they're like drowning in a pool, and then you could like grab them out, you know, but like, other than that,
By their arm or leg.
pretty much any, just if they're drowning. Other than that,
I feel like some literal asshole's gonna be out there and they're gonna be like, "Oh man, this baby's in this burning house," but Jesse said only if they're drowning
Just if
and
they're drowning.
well, I mean, technically,
Siri,
if you're not a
you drown
trained
in
professional,
fire?
you probably shouldn't be running into a fucking burning house to try to save anybody. Anyway,
But
I
if
know
you're the only
that.
person nearby and you got a good heart.
But
Hey,
that looks pretty cool on. you
Yes,
know, like
I
a
do
resume.
agree. I do agree, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't maybe try to do the same
You'd
thing,
be
but
Tinder gold.
yes, I'm a fucking schlubby white dude with moobs who's been married for 8 years. I'm sure I would hold it down. So,
I got this.
yeah, as we wrap up, is there anything you guys want to throw out there? Anything you'd like to share? Anything you want to
I just want to apologize to Liechtenstein and whatever.
Yeah.
Those
Can
guys
we just say we're sorry to Scotland?
Yeah.
in general.
Scotland, our apologies. In just like the deepest. So sorry. So sorry.
I was gonna cheer for you guys during the World Cup, but
You know.
you weren't
guy.
there.
We weren't either though. So, Carrie, anything
Yeah,
you'd
but
like
come on, we're
to?
America. Nobody expects us to be there.
Anything you'd like? Yeah, we call it soccer.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to share with the world?
I'd like to say thank you for having me tonight.
You're fucking very welcome, man. It was very good to have you.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's cool checking out the studio.
Thank you, man. I worked hard, and I'm very glad to have you guys in it. And thank you for coming out tonight, Greg. One last time, any opportunity to share something with the world?
At Hella Greg on all your favorite social medias.
And that's pretty much how we do, right?
Yeah, that's about it. I'm around. If you want to talk about something, get at me.
Get at Greg. Greg's brewing on a couple of conspiracies for some episodes coming up here. So be ready for those, you motherfuckers.
I got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, I know. I text you all day.
By the way, my wife said stop.
Nah. So thank you guys for coming out. Seriously, I know these always run a little later than we mean them to. Episode 56, your race number. So we also appreciate that.
I won't forget it.
Yeah. Certified fuckface, Robert Black, pedophile, leave kids alone unless they're drowning. And thank you everybody for listening to episode 56 of the Serial Killers podcast. That was episode 56. Thank you guys so much for hanging in there for that piece of shit. Robert Black, god damn fuckface child killer. I'm just glad that he headed the wrong way out of town during his last abduction, because that's what brought him down, ultimately, a wrong turn. So, fuck him. Thank you, Kyle and Carrie, for coming in. It was a blast to have you guys back, and you're welcome anytime. Especially you, Kyle. You didn't miss a fucking question, so, or you missed it, one or two. It was a very impressive streak you had there, so you know more about serial killers than you thought. Welcome to my world. Reach out to the show if you want to. You can do it in so many ways. Facebook is Serial Chillers Podcast. The Facebook group is Serial Chillers Podcast. Instagram is Serial Chillers Podcast. Twitter is @Chillers Podcast. The email is serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com. Call or text the voicemail line at 1-805-666-2513. That's 1-805-666-2513. serialchillerspodcast.threadless.com for all your merchandise needs. Patreon.com/Serial Chillers Podcast is where you can give to the show. We are going to get caught up. We've just got our stickers refilled. We are going to send out rewards by the end of next week. Everybody will have them by the beginning of the following week. So thank you everybody for giving, and thank you for anybody who has thought about it and is going to do it. It's really what keeps the show going, and it's the little things. It pays for stickers, it pays for cords when ours break, or extra microphones, or it's all small things. Anything that doesn't get spent directly on the show just gets saved for the show. So we want to be transparent in what we're doing here. It's a big deal for us that people are trusting enough to put some money towards something that's free. So thank you to everybody for that. Rewards will be out soon, as I said. That's it for this week, you guys. Thank you for stopping by. Robert Black's a fuckface. Thank you, Kyle and Carrie. Thank you, co-host Greg. And remember, don't talk to strangers.
This has been another presentation from Super Network.